Hari Om. Can you explain in simple terms what exactly is Atma and how we can remain as Atma? Atma is the source of our mind, wherefrom our mind has taken its form. So, this is what we call as the Supreme Being, God, Brahman, Bhagavan, in various terms. So, Bhagavan is the source of our mind. Bhagavan, or being in the presence of Bhagavan, is basically what happens when our mind subsides into its source. So, to simply put, when we remain without thinking, then we are in the state of Atma. We are in Atma. When the mind moves even a little, it is samsara. But when the mind is still, then we merge with Atma for that period of time. Actually, even in our daily life, often there have been very short intervals of time wherein we may not be thinking or engaged with some activities. In those moments, if we can be very vigilant and watchful, then we can experience the state of being still in those moments, wherein our mind stopped moving towards any objects, there have been no thoughts, and we will feel that stillness of our being in those very short moments. Of course, again, within the next few moments, we will start thinking about something else. There will be some activities, there will be some chain of thoughts. So, those things will go on as usual. But every now and then, only we need to be extremely watchful. We always have such moments wherein we can be aware of that presence of Bhagavan, the pure I am, Aham, as the very nature of our source of our mind. So, to be in the presence of Bhagavan is being in Atma, which is basically the source of our mind. Atma is basically existence, consciousness, bliss, Sachitanandam. It is that which exists always. And there is always that awareness of our existence, which is called as pure consciousness. It is the source of everything that exists. So, the basic definition of Atma is it is something which is eternal, unchanging, and it shines by itself, self-shining. Because it doesn't need any other instruments to make it known outside. It reveals itself, it exists by itself, and it is the pure awareness, consciousness. When the mind remains without any mental movements, any thoughts, then in those moments our mind merges into its source, which is the presence of Bhagavan, Atma. Again, when it starts moving towards some worldly objects, some thinking happens, then again the mind will arise, it will go towards those external worldly objects. Again, after a few moments, there will be a short interval, the mind will stay quiet and calm, the mind will be still, and again the mind will subside into the Atma, the presence of Bhagavan. Again, in those moments, we will experience the pure awareness of Atma, the presence of Bhagavan within. So it is there always. So Atma is something which is there always, here and now. In this very moment, all of us are actually in Atma only. Even when we are lost in worldly objects and thoughts, still it is happening only in the background of the presence of Bhagavan, Atma. And the mind is still when we are not doing anything, when we are peaceful, when we remain without any worries or anxieties, and when we are still, it is the state of jnana, the Atma. So the mind, when it is devoid of thoughts, it is Atma. So what happens is that whenever our mind goes towards any worldly objects, then just have to be extremely watchful. Immediately keep our attention on the source of those thoughts. Thereby our attention will naturally shift towards the pure I am, and the mind will subside back into the presence of Bhagavan, the Atma, the I am. By this way, as we keep on being vigilant, watchful, and not going after those thoughts which may arise, but to always keep our attention on the source of those thoughts, thereby turning our attention back to the I am, the Aham, the presence of Bhagavan. Then in those moments we remain in the presence of Bhagavan. Our mind merges with Atma. The mind, when it is with Vishayas, the worldly objects, it takes us away from Atma. The same mind, when it is turned within and when it is still without any thoughts, just being aware, then the same mind itself is Atma. So to remain in Atma or not, we always have the freedom or choice. At any given point of time, at any moment, we can always be in Atma. In fact, even other ways also, we are always in Atma only. Only thing is, we may not be conscious of it. So what is important is, in the initial stages, we need to be conscious of being in that presence. So we have to be very watchful. When we wake up in the morning or go to sleep at night, before going from the state of waking to deep sleep, or before rising from deep sleep to the state of wakefulness, there is always short interval of time wherein we can remain in the state of pure being, Atma. So we just have to be extremely vigilant, watchful. The same way, whenever we take a short nap during daytime also, when we wake up, we can find that our mind is extremely peaceful and quiet, and there is that awareness of the existence. When we are engaged in deep, involved mental activities, then even in those moments we can feel that presence of I am. When we are extremely happy or extremely sad, again we can feel that presence, because in those moments the mind subsides into its source. When we are reading some text or slokas or chanting, then in between, if we can just stop and take a moment of gap, we can feel that presence again, the presence of Atma. So it is always there within us. Just it is the I am, and without that we cannot engage in any thinking process or thoughts. Every thought rises with I am. So it is there always behind the personality, the Vishayas, the objects. So we just start to be watchful, remain still, and what is there is only Atma. The mind without thoughts is Atma. It is just the awareness of our own existence. It is just the presence of Bhagavan, which is the source of our mind, source of the ego, source of the I thought. When we are sitting in a dark room or where there is particular place which is very quiet, in those places also we can feel the presence of I am, the Atma. So that way, to the extent we are vigilant and watchful, to that extent it is within our reach to experience the subsidence of our mind in Atma. It is infinite, eternal, unchanging. The I am doesn't undergo any change, any modification. We all share the same I am within us all. So basically there is just one single consciousness which manifests as the I thought in each one of us, identifies itself with a body, with multiple bodies, projects itself through the senses and perceives the worldly objects. This is how, from the state of Atma, our attention is taken towards the worldly objects. Now we have to withdraw our attention from the worldly objects and turn our mind within. Inwardness of the mind, antarmukam. So actually it is not something we can experience by doing something. Of course, initially there may be some efforts. We need to withdraw our attention from outside. It may need some efforts, but in due course of time, it is more the practice of being. Atma is being, Bhagavan is being. So to be that being, we have to just be, not to do anything. When we just keep quiet and when our mind stops, when there is no seeking, then naturally we are in the presence of Bhagavan, the Atma. It is there always. The presence of Bhagavan is there within us always. Arunachala Shiva.